Tutor Ayo. I welcome you all on board to the very first class we are having for this year with this department. All right, today we are taking ACC101, and it promises to be interesting section. So today, okay, I'll be going through the comment section. I think I have Miss Vivian says good evening. It's great to have you on the stream, Miss Vivian. So with this being said, let's just up straight into it. So we have ACC. Allow me to switch up the light. So we have ACC101. Okay, so we'll be taking our bearing. From just as we have it on the thumbnail. Taking our bearing from bookkeeping. All right, taking our bearing from bookkeeping. That's what we'll be discussing tonight. We'll be starting from book keeping. Talking about what bookkeeping is all about. And now when we say bookkeeping, it's a basic understanding you need to understand in accounting. All right, it's a basic understanding you need to have in accounting. Now these are two different words. All right, book, and we have keeping. Okay, now we can use book for a varieties. All right, for varieties. Okay, book can be used basically to take down info. All right, it can be used as toy. All right, by kids, paper craft. All right, craft, and so on and so forth. Now keeping has to do with recording. All right, has to do with future purpose. All right, store has to do with storage. All right, now these are just random things, okay, but let's bring it down to what we are doing in today's class. All right, this is ACC101. Now let's bring it down to, let's streamline it to what we are doing in today's class. Now, in accounting, why do we need books? In accounting, why do we keep things? Now, in accounting, book is used to record. All right? You record things. All right? You can also use book to take info. All right? You use book as a container of information, as a container, all right, that what contains records. All right, basically, we'll come back to this. Now when we talk about keeping in accounting, basically we are talking about recording. All right, we are talking about recording. Why do you need to keep in account? All right, for reference purpose. Referencing. All right, for what? Safe keeping. And so on and so forth. Now, why am I going through this route? All right, I'm trying to prepare our mind towards bookkeeping itself. Now that now that I've known the things we use book for in accounting, and the things, the need why we should keep, the reason why we should keep things. So now let's bring these two together. So now if this is a document, all right, if this is a thing that helps to collect, all right, that helps to receive. So what does it collect? What does it receive? Records, all right, information, transaction, and so on and so forth. Now, so bringing these two together, here is where you put down the record, the transaction, the resources you might have gotten extracted somewhere, and you keep it here. For what? For safekeeping. Now, that's just by the way. Now let's begin to take definitions from our material. Now, according to what we have in the material, please note, I believe we have our writing materials with us. Okay, you are expected, as you join the class, you are expected to come with your writing materials. It is essential. It is part of the class. All right, it's what makes it a classroom. All right, as the class is going on, don't just listen, don't just watch, unless you are at work and you can't concentrate, which is understandable. All right, you can use your app, you can plug your ears, and you can listen and follow our suit. But if you are not at work, you have all the time, do well to jot points down. All right, that's why I will take my time to bring out points. All right, expand. Let's not forget we are in the familiarization stage of our class. All right, then we move to the next stage, is the Telegram class. Or as soon as we are done with familiarization stage, then we can proceed. So now, the concepts. All right, it's a concept. Bookkeeping is a concept. Let's understand that first and foremost. All right, bookkeeping is a concept. Excuse me. Trying to get my okay. Now, you need to first understand that bookkeeping is a concept, and this concept is typically defined as a what? Systematic. When we say something is systematic, you can't just do it anyhow. A systematic recording of what? Now, let me use this. A systematic recording of what? Facts. Showing the position of a business. Now, do you now realize that this statement here takes us back to the emphasis I was making just before now. Now, it's said to be, let's underline the key word, the key point, systematic recording of what? Facts. Of what? What fact? Fact about a business position. Now, there's a business, all right, and every business is out there to make profit. All right, how can a business run, all right, without liquid? All right, there has to be one way or the other. There's something always financing this and sustaining a business. Now, speaking of the financing and sustaining that business, all right, there is something that needs to be done. All right, there is a prototype that ensures that, okay, this business has been for the past 3 months, and this business will see the next 6 months. This prototype, all right, this assurance of forecasting does not just come out of the blue. It is achieved through something called a systematic recording. Now, encapsulated beneath this word, all right, transactions, all right, which could be sales, all right, purchases, all right, assets, all right, capital, liabilities listed. All right, so this statement you are seeing here, you can write up to 5,000 words explaining this. All right, systematic recording, meaning that there are things you need to put into consideration. All right, there are certain things that cannot just be done unperturbed, that cannot just be done unorganized, that cannot just be done anyhow. It is a systematic recording. Right? When you talk about recording now, you're talking about the process of gathering, all right, the process of observation, the process of collecting, the process of implementing, the process of properly filing facts. All right, what is the financial position of an organization? These facts now could be what comes in, what goes in, how much are we making, how much are we spending, how much have we realized, is our capital intact, our liquidity, what is the level, what is the cash at hand, what is the cash at bank. All these facts put together is what determines the position of a business organization, of an organization. Meaning that, will this business survive the next 6 months? You can determine that based on the collected, systematically recorded facts. And it is upon this fact that financial decisions are made. It's upon this recorded, systematically recorded fact. Now, we are trying to understand, there's something I say a lot. All right, if you are not new to this channel, you're not new to Tutor Ayo, you must have heard me I say this thing a lot. Understand the concept. All right, when you understand the concept, everything will fall in line. Why do we have this term, bookkeeping, in accounting? Why? All right, basically, this is the foundation of everything. Everything in accounting, all right, you can trace the genesis to this. Yes, because you cannot make a financial decision without this. You can't. You will run at loss. All right, the business will run at loss. Okay, before you can make any financial decision, before you can make any commitment, all right, you need this. And there's no way you can get this fact that will show the position of the business without bookkeeping. So this is to say that the process of collecting that information, all right, and putting it accordingly and arranging it properly, all right, for future purpose is what we refer to as this bookkeeping. Now let's continue. Let's take more points. Permit me to erase this. Please, if at any point there's something you don't understand, all right, please, speaking above your head, do well to, all right, inform me so I can go back. Now, let's continue. Let's take another point. Now, it is said here that every business organization maintains financial record through what? Through this. There is no financial record without bookkeeping. Now, do you know that this bookkeeping is done consciously and unconsciously? Now, when it becomes conscious, all right, is now we are talking about having a professional doing this, all right, or you being deliberate. Now, do you know that the moment whereby somebody owes you money, let's talk about a sole proprietor, all right, somebody owes you money, maybe one of your customers just comes, okay, can I get this guy on credit? Then you have a book, all right, okay, Mr. T, all right, owes 5k, date 1/1/2025. Do you know that this is an information, all right, that has a lot to do with the financial position of that small business, be it as it may. Now, if you want to make financial record, will this be thrown away? It's not possible. Okay? Now, just like what we say here, and every business organization maintains what we call financial record. All right? Financial records are maintained, all right, through what? Bookkeeping. Permit me to use, instead of writing it in full, permit me to use BK, bookkeeping. Financial records are maintained through what we call bookkeeping. All right, now let's take more points. So we have the next point. Now, like I said earlier on, bookkeeping involves, all right, bookkeeping involves taking record of all expenses, all right, and payment received. And payment receipts. All right, so basically we can say it involves money that goes out, all right, and money that comes in. Expenses you are paying out, all right, payment received, money you have received probably from doing a transaction. All right, so now let's take more points. Now, all business organizations, irrespective of size, all right, to the man across the street with just a small shop, all right, up to the level of a big organization, right, that employs over 500 staffs, right, both business entity observes bookkeeping. All right, both business entities observe bookkeeping, but it varies according to size of the organization. All right, so the level at which bookkeeping is being performed is different. All right, you cannot compare the bookkeeping of a man who owns a kiosk or a kiosk at the end of the street. All right, along the street, you can't compare the bookkeeping procedure of such an individual or of such a sole proprietor or an entrepreneur. You cannot compare that to the bookkeeping of big organizations. All right, but we cannot overemphasize the fact that they are both business entities, so it varies. Now let's talk about who a bookkeeper is. All right, so basically we don't have to say too much about who a bookkeeper is, all right, because we know what bookkeeping is exactly. All right, so a bookkeeper, let's just say something on it. A bookkeeper, just a moment. Okay, so a bookkeeper is a person who has an in-depth knowledge, all right, a person with an in-depth, all right, in-depth what? Knowledge. All right, as little as you might perceive bookkeeping, all right, it is not something you can handle, or it's not something you should handle with flimsy hands. All right, bookkeeping requires some expertise. All right, it requires some expertise, and so we can refer to as someone who is a bookkeeper, an individual, all right, who has an in-depth knowledge of maintenance of records, all right, of maintenance, okay, maintenance of records, maintenance of records such as expenses, payment, expenses and payment, expenses and payment, all right, and is trained in the operation of preparing stuff like bills, checks, and draft. All right, prepares bills, all right, checks, drafts, etc. All right, this is who you can refer to as a bookkeeper. Okay, so with this being said, let's proceed. Okay. Now, let's talk about Now let's take note of this point. It says bookkeeping is the preliminary part of accounting. All right, BK, part of accounting, part of, I said this earlier, all right, that you can't make any decision without proper recording. All right, you can't make any decisions. So basically, before you do anything further in accounting, you need to sort out what is called bookkeeping, as it provides reasonable basis. We are talking about bookkeeping, all right? It provides reasonable, all right? It doesn't provide all right? It doesn't provide all the information, but it provides reasonable, all right, basis for making, financial reporting possible. All right, fin reporting possible. Okay, that's why it's very necessary, it's essential. Now, the bookkeeping, all right, gets its information, all right, from what we call the source document. All right, info from the source document. All right, then you process, all right, you continue, you take it from the source document, then you process it into, or you extract it, all right, into books of account, all right, and you do the needful. Okay, now let's underline the word source document. When we say source document, what are we talking about? Let's not forget, we've been emphasizing on the fact that bookkeeping does a lot with payment and receiving. All right, and here we are talking about source documents. What are we talking? What do we mean source documents? Now let's quickly take this. Source documents are documents like the receipts, bills, invoice, statements, checks, payments, all right, bills, okay, invoice. You receive money, all right, you have your receipt, all right, you document it, okay, so amount has been received, here is my own receipt, you give the customer his own receipt, you keep your own as a point of reference. So amount has been sold out, so time and date, so amount to so person. Customer takes his, you have yours. This is what we refer to as source document, and this is where you get information to process, all right, your accounting system. Okay, this is where you get information to process, all right, and this as a whole makes what we call bookkeeping. Now, permit me to take that down so we can have something to we have receipts, all right, bills, we have invoice. We are still going to talk more about the source document when we get to the subsequent part of this course. Subsequently, we're going to talk more about source document, but this is just a quick intro to it. So we have statements and we have checks. All right, we have checks. Okay, I hope we all are on the same page. Hope I'm not going too fast, and I hope I'm communicating accordingly. All right, as you join the stream, do well to smash the like button if you're here to do that, and also do well to use the comment section. Say something, say good evening, hello, and let us know we are on the same page. So we have that on source document. All right, anything that documents a transaction. All right, anything that documents a transaction. Anything that documents a transaction is a source document. The word source, the word genesis. What is the genesis of this transaction? This is the document. Okay, what do we have in this document? Okay, so date we bought diesel, 5,000 naira. Who bought the diesel? Mr. Adamu. Okay. Who approved this money? Okay, Mr. Titi approved the money. Good. That's source, meaning that information has been extracted from this document and it can now be taken to some other places for proper documentation. All right, that is the source document. Okay, now it says here it is the source document. They are an integral part, meaning that it's a part of the process. All right, they are the integral part of the accounting and bookkeeping process. So we have that as that on the source document. And it is also said about bookkeeping that ledger and trial balance is the climax. Let's take down this point. Okay, now let me just use not D. Ledger, all right, and trial balance, all right. Ledger and trial balance are said to be the climax. Climax of, let me write this properly. Climax of bookkeeping. All right. Now, when we say climax, we're talking about the highest level. Okay. We're talking about the highest level you can talk about when it comes to bookkeeping. At this point, there's no other level. All right. At this point, there's nothing else to be done. So when you talk about the ledger and the trial balance, this is the full stop, all right, of bookkeeping. Okay. So let's quickly talk about. Let's just quickly do a quick intro to the ledger and the trial balance. So permit me to erase the board so we can take that. Okay. Now, like I said earlier, let's we've said something about the source document. We're talking about bookkeeping, and what makes bookkeeping. Right, there are three things: the source document, the ledger, and the trial balance. So we've spoken about the source document. Now we are going to discuss the ledger and the trial balance. All right. So we have. Let's discuss the ledger now. An accounting ledger, all right, now a ledger, all right, is a record used to store what? Bookkeeping entries. All right, is used to store what we call bookkeeping entries. All right, for the purpose of balance sheets. All right, balance sheets for balance sheet. Now, we said something about entries. Now, these entries are extracted from the source document. All right. As soon as they are extracted, they are processed and they move, all right, through the ledger, and here they land at the trial balance. All right, they are landing on the trial balance. And let's not forget, it is said that the ledger and the trial balance is the what? Apex, the climax of bookkeeping. Now, do we see how this works? Now, book of entries. As soon as you do your book of entries, you extract this information. All right, it could be a cash transaction. Then you can talk about your cash book. All right. Now, when we now talk about bank and cash transaction, you can talk about your double column cash book. All right, where you have the bank and the cash. All right, so when we're now having an inward return or outward return, we're not talking about the 3-column cash book, or probably you are giving discounts. They are talking about the 3-column cash books. All right, so as soon as all that information is being extracted, all right, then you bring the information from either the single column cash book, the double column cash book, or the 3-column cash book. You're bringing them to the ledger. Because for every corresponding debit entry, there must be a corresponding credit entry. All right, it is two sides, garbage in, garbage out. So as soon as you are done with that, you bring it to your ledger, and from the ledger, it comes down to the balance sheet. But don't forget that all this is possible as a result of an effective bookkeeping system. See how this works? So that's why I said a bookkeeper. All right, bookkeeping is beyond an individual writing how much did I spend today, how much did I receive today. It's beyond that level. All right, that's we said something about depending on the size of the business. All right, it varies according to the size. It is determined by the size of the kind of bookkeeping system you run is dependent on the kind of size. But to some extent, you can disagree, because even as a sole proprietor, all right, and you can be doing so well for yourself that you can even employ a bookkeeper, all right, to properly do your financial management, all right, to properly go through the books. Okay, so it depends on the person in question, but basically bookkeeping is beyond just recording how much you are paying and how much you are receiving, all right, because when it comes to issues of reconciling, all right, reconciliation, we call it bank reconciliation statement, all right, maybe there's a transaction, all right, that on your bank statement, probably you are seeing 800 naira on your bank statement, all right, and there's this monthly, my goodness, I'm missing the word. Okay, now let's say for example in your ledger you are having 800 naira and the bank statement shows that you have 900 naira. So what could have been the issue? All right, so at the point it could have been an omission, all right, it could be an overcasting during the process of recording, it might be an undercasting or a complete omission, all right. All this kind of accounting, all right, they are complicated, and if you're not an expert you might not be able to read and understand them, you might not be able to decipher what to be done, all right. So basically it is what it is. So we have ledger. Now let's talk about the trial balance, all right. These two are the climax of bookkeeping. That's trial balance. Now when we say the trial balance, what are we talking about? Basically there's nothing much about the trial balance. Where the major work is the primary book of entry and the ledger. So the trial balance is just to cross check if what has been done in the in the primary book of entry and the ledger corresponds, all right. So basically the trial balance is done, all right, to check, all right, to check that the debit and credit column totals of the general ledger. Don't forget I said for every corresponding debit entry there must be a corresponding credit entry. That means there is always a debit side and a credit side, all right, of a ledger. So now the trial balance is to confirm if the amount here is the same with one year, all right, which needs to be the same, all right. So if it's not the same, that means there has been a problem somewhere during the posting. Okay, so we have, let me write that out so we can put that down, all right. And all right, the trial balance is done to check the trial balance is done to check, all right, that the debit and the credit column, the debit and the credit, all right, column, all right, totals, all right, totals of the general ledger accounts. All right, is to check if it totals the general ledger account. All right. So basically, we have that as that. Okay. Now let's proceed. Okay. Now, according to what we have of the material, okay, we've spoken about source documents. All right. Now, it is said here in the material that there are two main methods of bookkeeping. All right. Main methods of bookkeeping. All right. And these two methods are we have a single bookkeeping and we have the single entry. We have a single entry and we have the double entry. All right. BK and BK. Have a single, all right, entry bookkeeping, and we have the double entry bookkeeping. All right. Now here, the bookkeeping here relies on one-sided accounting entry. All right. One-sided accounting what? Entry, according to the name single entry. All right. One-sided, all right, accounting entry. Okay. One-sided accounting entry. All right. It relies on one-sided accounting entry to maintain a financial information. A financial info. Right. And on the other hand, we have excuse me, the double entry, all right, relies on two-sided accounting entry to maintain, I think in 200 level, that's why you begin to do more of calculations. 100 level first and second semester, you are just going to you are being introduced to some certain things just to prepare your mind, to prepare you ahead of 200 level. Then we begin to do more of the postings. All right. Here we have relies on two-sided accounts. All right. It relies on two-sided accounting, all right, entry to maintain a financial information. All right. Basically, as you can see, we've been talking about the bookkeeping, all right, and we've spoken at length. We've been able to discuss what the source document is, all right. We talk about the ledger, all right, the trial balance, and we're able to establish the fact that there are basically two methods of bookkeeping, and we have a single entry book and we have the double entry book. And under the single entry book, we have one-sided accounting entry, and we have the double, which relies on two-sided accounting entry in order to maintain a financial information. Right? So, thank you very much, everyone. I believe we've been able class. I believe you have been able to grab a thing or two. I believe you also have been jotting down your points, and please do also revisit the class, revisit this video. So it's going to be there for you to visit anytime, so you can, if anything you miss, you need to get correctly. All right, do well to revisit. And we are still accepting students into this department in the private class. All right, do well to use the go to the website or use the comments in the description of this video. Check the link to the website and join the private class immediately. Thank you.